Whoa, oh, 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 sweet child of mine. As a, not even low-key, as a lifelong lover of Guns N' Roses, this movie made my heart smile. Thor, Love and Thunder. I will be seeing this again because I didn't see it with my girlfriend who wants to see the film as well, and we are going to. I'm going to make damn sure we don't get the theater again, not the actual theater, the cinema we have, but the theater itself, the numbered theater, because it's apparently that theater has been having issues with the sound. It's the same theater I actually ended up seeing Lightyear in that saying had the same issue with the sound with the volume, with the dialogue. So there were points in this movie where I couldn't hear what was said. There was like whispering that would happen in a scene. I couldn't make out what was said. Occasionally there was a lot, like a word that I couldn't interpret correctly. So I will see this movie again in time and get like the true experience of it. But just like with Lightyear, once the actual movie was like playing and I was just into the movie, I was able to overall ignore that issue and just pay attention to what was being said. And generally speaking, I could hear what was being said. The movie as a whole, what do I think about it? My positives, my negatives, my overall thoughts. Let's start with my overall thoughts. Really liked this movie. I think I was a little bit more of a fan of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but for different reasons. While that film certainly had some humor to it and certainly took itself more seriously, it was dealing with the whole concept of the multiverse. I think I just like Doctor Strange a little bit more as a character, though I love Thor. And the horror aspect of the movie really stood out to me and I really liked. The Sam Raiminess of that. That said, I certainly don't hate it. I very deeply enjoyed this movie. A lot of people have been asking about Ragnarok or comparing it to Ragnarok, and rightfully so. I mean, honestly, the Thor films have kind of gone from starting point to not as good to whoop. That most people agree Ragnarok is a lot better than the first two, and now people are kind of like, it's not quite as good as Ragnarok. I would probably lean on that side of the fence. While I think this movie does a few things better than Ragnarok, personally, I feel the balance was a little better in Ragnarok, or at least in my opinion. But that said, the stuff that's funny in this movie is funnier than Ragnarok. The stuff that is heavier in this movie is heavier than Ragnarok too. And we're talking about a movie where Asgard was destroyed and a lot of Asgardians died, including people we cared about and liked. So take that for what it's worth. But look, the movie it's Taika Waititi, and he embraced the goofy and the silly. Definitely, if you've been hearing that the film is a lot more of a comedy than like the previous film one, Ragnarok, they're right. It is a lot more. They lean a lot more into the silly and goofy, while not making it a straight out comedy, without making it a yuck movie like kind of like Ant-Man and the Wasp honestly was. As much as I really like Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I do, that film is definitely leaning towards the comedy aspect even more so. Like in terms of like straight through and through, it is a lot closer to a comedy than Thor is actually. Thor Love and Thunder, while very funny and very silly in a lot of it, it's not a straight out comedy because because the tone of it, will go from yuck silly to, oh no, gore is terrifying and creepy and is very unsettling at points. And also, hey, Jane's got cancer. Now I say that and you say, well, that's a spoiler. Hell no, it's not. They have been very open, maybe not in the trailers, but in the marketing and things along those lines, that this story is adapting to my Thor storyline where Jane had cancer. If that bothers you, I said that, I am sorry. It's been said openly, publicly, since near the beginning. So, sorry about that. I'm not revealing anything in this movie that isn't in the trailers or hasn't already been spoken about. But yeah, when it goes into the emotional, it lands home on the emotional stuff. Hell, the movie opens in a not fun way. No, let me rephrase that. In a not humorous yuck way. No, the movie opens up pretty harsh. Um, I won't say how it opens up, but when we get into gore, it's like no, the movie when we're dealing with anything with gore, even when gore is acting a little on the childlike side or something like that, not childish side, but like goofy side. His goofy side is more like just a menacing like joy. That's how goofy he gets. He's definitely the when things are getting too silly. He is the thing in the movie. He's the plot point. There's like, no, 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 no. Let me show you why I am called the God Butcher. Let me show you why this movie is not a straight comedy. Um, but the humor is great. The goat stuff, that was pretty funny. The whole scene with the gods, man, that was a really cool scene to watch. Uh, Russell Crowe was very entertaining as Zeus on both the funny side and the serious side when he did it too. He's not completely, just for a joke. The effects work visually is fantastic. Like this is a beautiful looking film. It is both vibrant and yet stylistic when we go into that whole monochromatic scene. And they've revealed that in the clip, so I can talk about that. It's the shadow. They took them to the shadow realm after they lost their duel. No, it's called the shadow realm, and it's a place that basically color fears to tread. Like the minute they go there, all the color is zapped out. Unless they're creating their own light source, there's no color. And that's like it's visually just a very unique looking scene, and very fun to watch, and very intense at points too. All the characters come back and they're great. We get where Thor is at the moment, and his relationship with Jane is, I'll say it, very sweet. I've heard a lot of people say that the issue they had with the first Thor is that they didn't buy the chemistry with Thor and Jane. Here you buy it. And they even go into what their relationship was like when they were together and why they broke up. Like that gets revealed. But yeah, I mean, like, but Thor himself, he's goofy and all that, and he's Hemsworth is definitely playing up the goof factor a bit in this movie. But there's also scenes he gets where you are genuinely feeling for him, and it's heartbreaking some of the stuff going on there. I got emotional a little bit in like two scenes. It was two scenes in particular that really made me feel the emotion. Um, But yeah, in Valkyrie, I love Tessa. Tessa Thompson's admittedly one. I have we all have our rotating five celebrity crushes. I have a couple that stay in there all time. Rosario Dawson and Michelle Pfeiffer will always be in there no matter what. I think I've come to accept that Tessa Thompson will always be one of my celebrity crushes. First off, she's just beautiful, but she's just so talented and fun. And there's a scene with her and Korg where they talk about a little bit of why she's kind of where she is. Uh, there's a scene. It's like a 2-second scene. There's a scene that made me made me and my friend just kind of go like, hey, yeah, good for you. And if anyone starts to say it's political because of those scenes, you are the problem. Not gonna miss words. You are the problem. Go get help. So yeah, and then there's Jane. Jane is Natalie Portman is an Academy Award winning. Is she Academy Award winning or nominated? I know she's been nominated. I cannot remember if she's an Academy Award winner. Excuse me. I think she's a winner, but I can't remember for what. Luckily, I'm on the internet right now, so we'll find out. Let's see. Oh, yep, she's won one Oscar. What was it for? An Oscar winner for Black Swan. That's what I should have known that off the top of my head, but whatever. Yes, she's an Academy Award winning actress, and she's awesome. She's again playing both the goofy side. It's like, well, let's bring the rainbow. It's like, yeah, she hasn't been Thor very long. She's been catchphrasing. How many catchphrases? A lot. Again, from the trailer. Um, but again, because of what the storyline is dealing with cancer, when we have to deal with that subject, they don't make light of that. No, she's in a bad way. And hold on one second. Is that gonna fix it? Yeah, okay, I'm a little clearer right now. The lighting's a little odd in here. But no, when they got to deal with the cancer, no, they don't sugarcoat it. It's like they recognize just how bad a way she's in. And there are scenes involving that subject where you're just, your heart's just like, mm. Um, the Guardians. Should you talk about the Guardians real quick? I get why the Guardians are there from a story point of view. That's where Thor is at the end of Endgame. If I'm gonna be honest, the Guardians don't. All the Guardians are fun. They don't really serve a point. And I actually, I before I'll talk a little bit more about Gore in a little bit, but yeah, going into a few of the things that I maybe didn't love or things that stood out to me as maybe plot issues or whatever. First off, the Guardians. Like, well, I like seeing them there, and they're fun. Kraglin has a scene where she's like, yeah, you can't just every time we go to a planet. Not gonna say what it is, but it's a little funny scene with Kraglin. Yeah, though it's like, okay, we get why they're there, but in terms of what they contribute to the overall story, why are they there? So it's like, I don't hate seeing them or anything like that. It's not that. It's just they don't actually serve a narrative purpose in the movie because, as we know, with Stormbreaker, Thor can just travel the universe all he wants with the Bifrost. So the only thing we kind of can gather is that Thor kind of just needs, company, friends, all that. That's kind of what we can gather from that. So that's something. The end of the movie. Now, first off, I won't say what the post or mid credits scene are. Both are actually pretty good. One of them sets up a little bit for further MCU films, though it doesn't give you the broad spectrum where Phase 4 is going. Most people seem to assume it's going to Secret Wars. I'm leaning towards that as well, but there's still no evidence of where it's still going right now. The post-credit scene is more of a nice feeling post-credit scene. Like, you're happy that you saw that post-credit scene. And you're like, yeah, that's, again, you just have a smile on your face seeing that. But in terms of where certain characters, how the story ends, there's a plot point with Gore that I was commenting. I'm like, okay, the mid-credit scene didn't say anything or specify anything about that. Is the post-credit scene going to? No? Okay. So there's an element about Gore that if you're a comic fan, you know about it, and if you're not, I'm still not really going to say it. But it had something to do with him where I'm like, are they going to reference where something came from? And they didn't really. And I'm like, okay, well, that means we're probably never going to get this character in the MCU, at least not anytime soon, which sucks because I would love to see that character show up in a movie. But regardless, it's fine. It's all good. Oh, God. I hope Sony doesn't try to take a crack at that. Not that I don't like Sony's movies and I don't like the Venom movies, but I do not want to see them take a crack at that because I feel like that's just going to be a complete bastardized version of that. Anyway, so there's that. I have heard, at least from some people that I listen to, that they didn't like how Gore's story, like how the movie ends, they liked, but how Gore's story ended, they weren't a huge fan of. I'm a little iffy on it. I maybe would have liked to have seen something different with Gore, but at the same time, I actually don't mind how it ended. Because I think it kind of came full circle with what he was trying to do and how he was ultimately stopped. Because obviously, spoilers, the villain of the movie is stopped because, the world, killing all gods doesn't happen. Obviously, because it's the movies continue and that would create a giant hole in the cosmology of the universe. But yeah, and I mean, there's also, I'm not going to give anything away, but in the finale, there is a location they go to that clearly is very important to the cosmology of the MCU, and there is something that is the MacGuffin, let's call it. And I liked the concept of what they did with the MacGuffin, but with all these seriously important figures there, it makes you wonder what they're trying to go for ultimately. Now, I can say, I won't say no, I can't say where it is because while it's in the trailer, that is a spoiler. The fact that it's a location and it's near the end of the movie. It's just it. So I won't say it, but there's just questions as an MCU fan. I'm like, okay, well, I want more answers, and I'm not getting them, so I'm a little, miffed. And I'll say this: not every joke lands. Like majority for me landed, but there are jokes that are like, okay, yeah, that's kind of much, kind of awkward, but whatever. It's all good. Other than that, though, I mean, like I said, Gore. Talking about Gore, I like the duality of the character, where it's like, yes, he was a man of faith, but his gods did not betray him, or did not were not there for him, and so he becomes in the possession of a weapon and starts slaughtering gods, and yeah, like when Christian Bale is like playing it cold and menacing, oh god, he's terrifying. When he's playing, but he's also playing it menacing and goofy. He's also delightfully terrifying and fun to watch. At one point there's a scene where people are talking. I'm not gonna say context, but people are talking, and he suddenly appears and he just claps. And what a charming story! It's like, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, this guy is a little unhinged, but after what you've been through, you'd be unhinged too. Both the mid and post credit scene are great. I did mention that, but I didn't really specify. I just said that the mid credit scene sets up for future movies. I do like it. I heard it got like a big pop with some audience, and I'm like, maybe it was the actor who they got to portray the character that shows up, but our theater didn't pop. They just said, "Oh, there's this character." Okay, great. There you go. And I'm like, cool, that character. I can't wait to see that character. Didn't give me a big pop. I'm just like, cool. So yeah, there's that. But overall, and it ends in a very, fun, nice way. Absolutely. Nice way that ties into the title too. I'm not going to specify how, just going to say it ties into the title. Leave it at that. But look, Thor, Love and Thunder. Is it a perfect movie? No. Are there things I might have done differently if I had made the movie? Assuming Marvel would let me do them differently. Sure. But you know what? I had a blast. As far as the Thor movies go, this is probably... Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, Dark World is the worst of it. It's the least impressive of the four. Like I said, I think Ragnarok is the best of them, personally, my opinion. So does this rank higher than the original Thor for me? Yeah, probably. I could find myself rewatching this film probably more than I would rewatching the original Thor. It's just a lot more vibrant, a lot more fun. There were definitely more families in there in our screening than, say, in Doctor Strange, I think. There was a lot of laughs. I could hear kids having fun. So this is a lot more fun than, say, something like the original Thor. And I think that kind of plays a factor in it. And I think this is a bit more fun even in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse, at least for, general audiences with families. So that's my take. That's my opinion. But that is just my opinion. Ultimately, what did you think of Thor, Love and Thunder? Let me know in the comments below if you have seen it. If not, well, I haven't given anything too serious away, so don't worry about that. In fact, I haven't really given anything away, like I said, that wasn't in the trailer. So until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy it. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you folks next time. Have a good one.